What's up guys, it's Taylor and I am back with another video. As I always say, you already know the deal if you read the title. Today I'm recapping episode 6 of the Challenge Total Madness on MTV. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this episode was kind of lackluster. It felt like a filler episode, you know, like they didn't really have much to go on this week, but I guess it's kind of weird because they picked up after a cliffhanger, and I don't know what the producers were doing this week, but it was kind of a lackluster episode. Nonetheless, it's still the challenge and there's still drama, so without further ado, let's get into it. Now, the episode starts off with where last episode left off, and it's a cliffhanger. It was Rogan and Jay's elimination. Now, if you remember at the end of last episode, Rogan tackled Jay really hard and slammed him into the ground, and the episode ended with Jay not moving, not being able to get up. So episode picked up and Jay's on the ground. It looked like Rogan had broken his arm. Rogan didn't break his arm, but he was down there for a minute. And everybody was kind of just wondering, like, is he going to be able to continue? Like, what's going on? Is he okay? And, you know, he was down there for a long time, but eventually Jay did get up and he said that he wanted to finish the elimination. And so he attempted to. So Jay gets up, they attempt to continue on with the elimination, and instead of actually he goes into the ring, but instead of actually like trying to go into the ring and fight his way to the bucket, he kind of steps in a little bit and he throws it to avoid getting hit that hard again by Rogan. And honestly, I don't blame him. I do not blame him. I said, you know, my last video that I thought it was very unnecessary what Rogan did to Jay. He's about 2-3 times Jay's size, you know, and that was completely unnecessary. So I do not blame Jay at all for taking a different strategy and not wanting to get hit again. He still got hit a little bit though. And so after Jay has his 2 turns, he bonds him. He doesn't get the ball in the bucket. And he is asking what the rules are again. He's asking how many turns he has left. And yeah, I think production knew, like it was pretty clear to production that Jay was having some trouble remembering, like he got hit really hard, and then on top of that Rogan like dug his head into the ground, so that didn't help. But production takes another look at him and everything, and they say he needs a CT scan, he can't continue on. And so Jay gets medically removed from the competition and Rogan wins by default. So Rogan now has a red skull, and he's the only guy in the house who was qualified to actually run the final. I mean, can't say he got it fair and square, but he got it. And, you know, all's fair in love, war, and challenges. So it is what it is. So that's what happened at the elimination. So after that, everybody's back at the house, and Bananas, Rogan, Tori, some other people, I believe, they're all sitting around. They're talking about Jay. You know, they're talking about the elimination. They're talking about how much time is left. They don't know how much time they're gonna have to actually go in and get their red skull and everything like that. Also, Wes, Bear, and Bananas are playing cards. They're talking to Bear and everything like that. Bear's telling them, you know, how, you know, him and Kayla kissed or whatever. And Kayla, I think Kayla, this is the scene where Kayla and I think some other people were sitting at the table, like next to them, and she overheard it. She's not happy. She feels ashamed of what happened between her and Bear. She's visibly upset, you know. She goes to her room, and Nani and Jenna, she's talking to Nani and Jenna. They're asking her why she's upset. She kind of feels embarrassed and everything like that. And honestly, I mean, I get it. I get that she's embarrassed. I just feel like, I don't know. Like I said in my last video, I want to give Kayla the benefit of the doubt, because countless amount of times, and not just Kayla, but other people over the years have said that, you know, while in the challenge house, you know, although it isn't like Big Brother, you know, you don't have, it's not, you're not completely cut off from the outside world, but you're cut off a little bit. You don't have your phone, you know, you can still call home or do FaceTimes, you know, to people at home, but it's not the same, you know. So I get it. I absolutely get it. But at the same time, I just feel like at some point you have to have accountability. And, you know, ultimately she was wrong for what happened between her and Bear with the relationship. But this isn't, you know, I'm not going to analyze her relationship with her boyfriend. That's not my place. But it is what it is. She made a mistake. So we'll just leave it at that. The next scene, we see Jenna on a call with her friend, Nicole, I think, and her friend is telling her how Zach was going through Jenna's DMs and everything like that, seeing DMs from like 2 years ago, and he's not happy with Jenna. You know, he feels like Jenna has some explaining to do. Jenna's confused, you know, this makes her upset, and you know, this is kind of taking her head out the game because she's worried about what's going on back home with Zach, and she can't really focus on the game, and she comes out of it and she's like, she wants to go home and stuff like that. And you know, she's talking to a bunch of people. She talks to Tori and Jordan. You know, they're saying you need to stay. It's selfish of Zach to do this to you, and honestly, they're right. I don't, like I said, this is not, I'm not here to analyze anybody's relationship, but because it has been on national television for the past 5-6 years, let's talk about it. Zach is not the nicest guy when it comes to his relationships. I mean, we saw how he treated Janae on Exes 2. You know, that was for the world to see. He treated her horribly, you know. And even after that, when he was with Jenna, we saw him call her another girl's name on national television, you know. So I just feel like there's these signs with Zach, you know, and he's just not a nice guy. He said other things about other people, not just relationship wise, but I just feel like he's not a good person. And it is selfish of him to pull this on Jenna, like, oh, you need to, you know, he doesn't want to talk to her. We haven't gotten to that part yet, but he doesn't want to talk to her, and he's upset with her over some DMs that apparently from 2 years ago. It is very selfish, and, you know, I do feel sorry for Jenna. You know, I hate that she had to go through that during that time, but Zach is, I mean, the writing is on the wall with Zach, so that's basically all I have to say about that situation. But also, just to add to that, Tori sees this as an opportunity to go in and get her red skull this week because it is a girls' week, and Jenna, clearly her head is not in this. Clearly Jenna's head is not in the game with this whole Zach situation, so Tori wants to capitalize off of that. And you know what? I've said a lot of things about Tori, but I will say that, you know, if you see somebody who is kind of, I don't want to say weak, but, you know, their head's not in it and you feel like you can beat them, why not go for it? You know, we'll see how it turns out, but she wants to capitalize off of the fact that Jenna's head is not in the game, and she wants to go in and get her red skull. So we'll see where it goes with that. Next we have Bear, Wes, and Bananas again, and this time they do this whole thing for Bear and Kayla. They set up this thing. Now this you know, caused like a kind of like a firestorm on Twitter because a lot of people felt that it was unnecessary for Wes to go into Kayla's bed and everything like that in her room and get pictures of Kayla's current boyfriend and stuff like that and bring it in Bear's room and put it on his bed and post them up on the ceiling and the wall and stuff like that. And, you know, I don't know. I do feel like it is not okay to go through people's belongings and stuff like that. And the whole situation is a bit messed up, you know, because I feel like everybody, I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there, but I feel like everybody in the house at this point saw how Kayla was struggling with this entire situation, and they just, not everybody, but, you know, Bear and Wes and Banana specifically, you know, took it upon themselves to pull this whole thing and everything like that. Now I know Bear is like, you know, a prankster and everything like that, but I don't know, I just feel like it was all in poor taste. Not just Wes going and getting, you know, Kayla's personal belongings, but just the whole situation was in poor taste. Kayla, you know, after they do that whole thing, they call Kayla in there. She sees the pictures. She's not okay. Everybody in the house saw it. Everybody's gathered in a room. That had to be embarrassing for her. I know that had to be embarrassing for her. So that was kind of a messed up situation. And yeah, so that's basically that situation. It was messed up. Bear needs to grow up. Wes, I mean, I like Wes. I'm a Wes fan, but he was wrong for that. You know, I wouldn't say he needs to grow up because I feel like that was a lap. He does need to grow up. He does need to grow up, you know, he shouldn't have did that, but I just feel like normally you don't see Wes doing these types of things. Like, if anybody's gonna pull pranks, it's gonna be Bananas. You know, I expect this type of behavior from Bananas, you know what I'm saying? But from Wes, I was kind of disappointed in him, and I kind of hate that he did that. You know, Bear and Bananas, I'm not surprised. They're they're literally man children. They're grown men who act like kids all the time, so I'm not surprised. Not saying it was right, but I'm not surprised. And seeing Wes do that, I was disappointed. So I just feel like, yeah, that was messed up, but whatever. So that was that situation. So in the next scene, we have Jenna and Zach again. She's on a FaceTime call with him, and they're having this conversation. Zach accuses Jenna of cheating on him because, like I said before, he found the DMs from like 2 years ago, and Jenna says they were together. Jenna says they were together. They've been on and off, and I don't know. I just feel like, once again, we've seen the writing on the wall with Zach, and we've seen what type of person he is, and I just feel like Jenna, I don't know. I hope that there is some realization of self-worth there, and that's all I'm gonna say about that situation. I just hope that she realizes her worth. Yeah, so I'll keep it at that. Realize your worth. After that, Wes, Bailey, and Swaggy are talking. We find out that they have an alliance. It's actually interesting, and I follow Bailey and Swaggy on their personal social medias and everything like that. I've been following them since BB, and it's actually really interesting to see them, have a connection with Wes in the house, because they were actually friends with Wes way before they were on the challenge. I believe they lived in the same city, Kansas City, and they knew Wes and his wife. They hang out. They do couple stuff together and everything like that. So going into the show, I don't know if they knew that they were going to have that alliance, if you want to call it that, but they had somebody that they can lean on who has played this game before and has been successful at it. So it was interesting to see their dynamic and talk about how they've known each other and how they can have Wes to count on. So that was a scene. So after all that, we move on to this week's challenge. So this week's challenge is called Fast and Furious, and what everybody has to do is the game is played in pairs, so they'll be paired up, male, female, and what they have to do is they're hanging off the side of this big moving rig, and they have to collect puzzle pieces, and once they get all the puzzle pieces, they have to go to the top of the rig and solve the puzzle. Now, also, there are strings, each of them are on like a string thing, and when one person goes up, the other has more slack, and then vice versa. And it proved to be difficult for some pairs. First up, we have D and Swaggy C, and we have Jordan and Nani. Basically, D and Swaggy C and Jordan and Nani, they are, for the most part, they're neck and neck. They, for the duration of being on the side of the rig. But ultimately, Jordan and Nani, they get all their puzzle pieces, go to the top of the rig, and they solve this puzzle, and they're the first ones to actually, they're the first pair, but they are the first to solve the puzzle. And yeah, so that was that. They beat out D and Swaggy C. Next, we have Tori and Josh, and we have Big T and Kyle. Now, this was interesting because right at the start of their, time to go, Josh drops a puzzle piece, but apparently he doesn't notice that he drops a puzzle piece because they actually get all the other pieces from the side of the rig. They seem to be doing fine. They moved fast and everything like that. They get to the top of the rig and they actually solve, the puzzle, and they realize that they're missing a piece because Josh didn't realize that when they first started, he dropped the piece. They were really upset, but they got eliminated, and I also believe that both teams get eliminated. So yeah. Next is Madi and Cory and Jenna and Fessy. And so Fessy, right at the start of this, he says that he's kind of frustrated because obviously the whole house knows about what's going on with Jenna and Zach, and her head is not in it. So he said that he was kind of frustrated to have her as a partner, but I feel like he sucked it up and they did what they had to do. So basically those two teams, they go at it. I don't think neither one of them made it to the top of the rig to even get to start solving the puzzle. I think both teams had trouble getting to a particular piece, and ultimately both teams end up getting eliminated. Next, we have Jenny and Rogan, Anissa and Nelson. Boy, was this a mess. So right off the bat, Anissa and Nelson, I feel like they have this little thing because Nelson feels as if Anissa didn't try this challenge because she wants to go in against Jenna, or she was throwing it, or whatever the case may be. Also, before even all that, Anissa actually drops a piece, like starting right off the back. Anissa drops a piece and Nelson's upset about that, and I feel like that set the mood for their whole time doing this challenge. I don't know where Anissa's head's at. Bananas, I think Bananas said it best that when he said that Anissa kind of gets by with, her status of being a veteran and, that whole respect thing. And, that can only last so long. If you aren't performing, you're going to go home. She's never won. And I don't know. I like Anissa, she can be entertaining, that's for sure. But as far as competing, it might be time to hang it up. But my point is that Nelson was upset with her from the start after she dropped that piece. And, he accused her of throwing it and she's crying and everything like that. Both teams end up getting eliminated. And Anissa's crying. Even Cory and Fessy are like, dude, like, you need to chill out. Like, why are you yelling at her? It was a mess. Like I said, I feel like Nelson does stuff for camera time. He is a great competitor, in my opinion. I think he's really good, but he always does this. Like, he always just does stuff for the camera. I feel like he doesn't have to do that. I don't know why he does that, but I just feel like he should let his performances speak for himself. Now, he said that he feels like he's been screwed over with every partner, with every team, or whatever the case may be, but he still is being extra. It was totally unnecessary to yell at Anissa. I mean, hell, even if she did throw it, it's not a guy's day. You're not gonna go in. You're fine this week. So what does that have to do with you? But whatever, that was that. That was them. Next teams are Casey and Bear, Melissa and Bananas. So basically, Bear and Casey, I believe they get their 10 puzzle pieces first, but they had a hard time kind of doing the puzzle. Melissa and Bananas, they get up there, they're doing their thing, they get all their puzzle pieces, they get up there, and they actually do pretty good. They were a good team, not gonna lie. They were a good team, put together and everything like that, and they get it done. After so many teams getting eliminated, they actually finished their puzzle, so that's good. And actually, Casey and Bear finished their puzzle too. They just finished it after Melissa and Bananas, so. Yeah. Next is Kayla and Wes and Bailey and Jordan, and they are the last two teams to go. Jordan goes twice because it was an uneven number, so Jordan has to go twice. If you remember, he went with Nani the first time, so they all go and everything like that. Bailey and Jordan, I think right off the bat, kind of had some tension there. Both teams get all 10 pieces. They go up to solve the puzzle and everything like that, and I think both teams actually end up getting eliminated. But Bailey thinks that Jordan wasn't really trying this go around because he did so good with Nani, and he's closer to her, and he wants Tori to be able to go in and get her red skull and stuff like that. So they have a spat, they start arguing and everything like that. I feel like I see it from both sides. I don't know what Jordan's line of thinking was on his second go round, but I feel like Bailey, I can understand why she would be upset because, you did so good on the puzzle the first time. Why aren't you taking the lead and helping me this time? But, they have a spat. It's an argument. It is what it is. Can't win them all. It's whatever. But after all that, everybody's done. TJ says that the winners are actually Jordan and Nani, which probably adds to Bailey's suspicion, but whatever. Jordan and Nani win, and they have to pick a third to be in the tribunal, and they end up picking Jenna. And that's basically where the episode ends. They pick Jenna to be in the tribunal. We don't get an elimination this episode. So the episode, it was kind of more drama based, and everything like that. It's fine at times, but I'm really hoping that next week is jam-packed. But if you made it this far in the video, you might as well go ahead and like and subscribe, hit the bell. I'll be back next week with another recap. Thanks for watching. Until next time, peace out.